Hi, and thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Ferg, aka Phil. And since some of you are curious about an update regarding my camera choices and experience on my current vacation trip, I thought I will also give you a quick update, some thoughts regarding the X-E5, which I have currently here. And I hope the microphone is able to handle this wind. I'm currently at the beach doing this video for you guys. Otherwise I have to run the audio through AI, but I think it should be fine. All right, as you already saw from the title, I was thinking about some of your comments recently because on my recent videos, a lot of you have mentioned or commented that some of you would sell your X100VI and get the X-E5 instead. And that basically made me think, what are the pros and cons for each of both cameras and why would you choose one over the other? Because form factor wise, the X100VI and the X-E5 are pretty similar, but regarding pros and cons, there is quite a difference which determines you choosing one over the other. And let's start with what you would lose from switching from the X100VI to the X-E5. And some of you might know that I have owned the X100VI previously. Back then I sold it just to fund the Q3. Therefore I do have my own experience regarding both cameras. And the first thing I recognized, basically comparing both of them, is definitely the EVF. In my first impression, when I had the X-E5 first time in my hands, I thought that the EVF is fine. That's not a big deal that the EVF is relatively small. But after using it now on my trip, especially comparing it next to the Olympus 3 and the ZF, I do notice the EVF being much smaller. And especially when you come from the X100VI, in my opinion, the X100VI has a better EVF. I think the magnification is a little bit bigger, but also the eyepiece, in my opinion, it's much more comfortable to put your eye to that EVF of the X100VI. And I also think that for you who are wearing glasses, the X-E5 is also not that comfortable to use. So if you are using the EVF a lot, I would recommend to check the X-E5 first before buying it, if you have the chance, depending on the stock of the camera currently. The next fact you will lose if you switch from the X100VI to the X-E5 is definitely the weather resistance. The X100VI is weather resistant if you put on a filter in front of the lens, and the X-E5 is definitely not weather resistant, and you definitely lose that if you switch to the X-E5. Normally, I personally don't give that much on weather resistance on cameras, but after this trip with my family, being at the beach here, for example, my kids playing the sand and at the beach with water elements, I did appreciate a lot the IP53 rating of the Olympus 3. Video up here, if you haven't seen it yet, you have to double check that for yourself regarding preferences. Some of you guys live in very humid weather, where I think that the weather resistance of the X100VI does appeal more compared to the not weather resistant X-E5. Two other hardware specs which you will lose by choosing the X-E5 would be the internal ND filter. The X100VI has one, the X-E5 not, and same goes for the internal flash. The X-E5 does not have any kind of flash built in. It's only the X100VI having that. And the last point I want to cover here regarding the switch is, depending on your preference, if you switch to the X-E5, you will lose the leaf shutter the X100VI is with the leaf shutter basically silent. Some of you might prefer that, some of you might not prefer that and like the mechanical click of the X-E5, so that's highly depending on your preference. Now I will also want to quickly cover what you will gain by switching to the X-E5 from the X100VI. The first thing would be the tilt screen. You have on both cameras a tilt up screen, but on the X-E5 you can tilt that screen much more, so you can basically vlog yourself or make selfies and so on. So if you value that, you get that on the X-E5. Again, regarding the shutter, you get that mechanical shutter feedback on the X-E5. Depending on your preference, you might see it as a pro or as a con, as I mentioned before, if you prefer a much more silent shutter like a leaf shutter. And of course, the biggest pro of the X-E5 is the big reason why you guys considered switching to the X-E5, and that's of course the ability to change lenses. So of course, with the interchangeable system of the X-E5, all the X-mount lenses you can put on the X-E5, which makes it much more versatile, and that's of course the big pro on that one. After covering both of these sides, I also want to cover the aspect of both cameras which they have in common. First of all, I want to mention the form factor. If you look at the measurements, I think the X-E5 is a little bit more compact, you could say, but in real life, in my opinion, if you use it daily, you don't notice that of a difference. So in my opinion, they are basically the same regarding form factor. Both awesome compact cameras. Also, both of them share the same battery. From what I experienced now also on this trip with the X-E5, they have more or less the same battery life. If I compare the X-E5 with the OM 3 and the ZF, the X-E5 is definitely the worst regarding battery life, but that's no surprise because the battery of the X-E5 is much smaller compared to the OM 3 and the ZF. Also no surprise, both cameras share the same sensor, 40 megapixels, therefore same images, same image quality. The same goes for the autofocus. It's the same generation autofocus from Fujifilm. I have compared it on this trip with my OM 3 and the ZF. I will cover that in more details in an upcoming video, but X-E5, X100VI are coming in last compared to the OM 3 or the ZF. Regarding autofocus, definitely. Yeah, that's basically some thoughts I have after shooting the X-E5 for a couple of weeks now, also on this trip. Also comparing it in my mind with the X100VI. As I mentioned, some of you have mentioned that topic, and I thought, why not make a quick video about that and share you my thoughts on this topic. And one last thought on this topic: if something like weather sealing and interchangeable lenses are important to you and you are willing to sacrifice the portability and the size and weight of the camera, I think the X-T5 is still a great camera today. You can get awesome used deals also from dealers with warranty. And if you want to jump into the Fuji ecosystem, the X-T5 is still a great choice in my opinion. I personally didn't bought that camera simply because I do preference size and weight and form factor. All right, that's the thoughts I had on this topic by recording this on the beach in the Netherlands. I hope the audio is not that bad. If yes, I hope that AI can save the quality a bit. And if you made it until this point, thank you very much for your time watching. You are the one who deserves the like for that. If you want to support my small little channel, check the affiliate links below in the description, or buy me a coffee, link also in the description. And if you want to find out which feature I value a lot during this family vacation in the Netherlands of the OM 3, click on this video and have a nice day.